Come along with me tonight as I make dinner for my family. So tonight we're making a really simple pasta dish with meat sauce, and right now I'm going to make some bread to go along with that. So this is a really easy peasant bread recipe. It doesn't take long to make. It's super simple, and I bake it in these cute little bowls. So I'm going to butter the inside of each bowl so that the bread doesn't stick, and this is really the only fat that's in this recipe, which is nice because it keeps it nice and light, but the flavor from the butter actually does seep into the bread, and so it actually tastes like it has a ton of butter in it, but it doesn't. So it's really, really nice. This is a family favorite. All of the kids absolutely love this recipe, and a lot of times I'll make 4 of these at a time so that we can have a little bit left over. But we already have some other sandwich bread still that I made the other day, and so I didn't want anything to go to waste. So I only made 2 this time, and wouldn't you believe, every last bit of bread got eaten during dinner. Okay, so those are nice and buttered and ready for the bread dough. So this has risen for about an hour, hour and a half. It's a very wet dough. You don't have to knead it at all or anything. And so I'm just going to put this in the bowls as equally as possible without too much fuss. I'm not going to weigh it or anything like that. Just go by looks. And I put a little too much in the pink bowl, so I'm just going to add that to the yellow bowl. There we go. It's ready. Okay, now while I'm taking a break and letting that bread rise, I'm going to go ahead and mix up some Belgian waffle, sourdough Belgian waffle mix that needs to ferment overnight so that I can make waffles for the kids in the morning. My 12-year-old son has reminded me relentlessly that I haven't made waffles in a very long time because our school day is really just too busy for me to be able to do that. And I'm so blessed that my husband actually makes breakfast for the whole family on Saturday mornings. So I am going to take advantage of our Thanksgiving break and go ahead and mix up this waffle batter so that it'll be ready to use tomorrow. There's my starter. It's super healthy and happy and ready to be used. I've been feeding it twice a day for a few days now, so it is ready to be put into service. So I'm weighing this out. I don't know if you can see the scale underneath, but I'm not just eyeballing this. I'm using the scale to weigh it. The recipe that I use is actually the King Arthur sourdough pancake and waffle recipe, and it is a fantastic recipe. I cannot recommend that more. I'll link it in the description below so that you can try it out for your family too. I've never actually made pancakes with it before. I always do the waffles because that's what the children prefer, but it is stellar. And the best part is, right now I'm doing my calculations because I'm actually taking the recipe and multiplying it by 3. So I have to calculate for a couple of the things like the sugar. So the best part about this recipe is that more than half the work is done the night before. So, you mix up the batter with flour and sugar and buttermilk, and I think baking powder, if I'm remembering correctly. And then you let that ferment overnight, and then in the morning you just add your eggs and some baking soda and mix it up, and it's ready to go. So it doesn't take a whole lot of time before you actually are pouring the waffle batter onto the waffle iron. Now, the reason why this is not a weekday breakfast for us is because even though I have 2 waffle irons that do 4 waffles at a time, it still takes an unbelievable amount of waffles to feed the whole family. So I end up tending to the waffle iron for probably about an hour, which I really just don't have that time during the week because of school. Maybe I should get a 3rd waffle iron. I don't know. The kids love the waffles so much though. So I was happy to be able to make this for them. I promised them that I would do it one more day during Thanksgiving break as well for another treat. Getting the buttermilk measured accurately in there. And now I'm just going to use my Danish dough whisk to get this mixed up nicely. and then we'll be able to focus on dinner again. This is one reason though why I love having sourdough starter available. Oh, there was a hair. Can't let that go into the batter. I just love having the sourdough starter to add to different things. I make a killer banana bread that everybody just absolutely loves with the sourdough starter, and crackers and English muffins, sandwich bread, crusty bread. It goes on and on. One thing I didn't mention is I actually added some of my starter to the peasant bread. It wasn't, I just added that kind of like as an enrichment. It's not what actually leavened the dough. I added yeast as well, but I had some extra that I needed to use up, so I just put it in there. And it does, I think, affect the final flavor a little bit. So everybody loved it. And that's what it looks like when it's all mixed up. Now in the morning, it's going to be nice and bubbly and light and fluffy. Okay, so Hosanna is bringing the bread over, and we're going to go ahead and pop that out of these bowls, and then we'll turn my little island fan on so that it can cool down a little bit faster, because hot bread straight from the oven, like, it's absolutely delicious, but it's kind of hard to cut. So we want to cool this down a little bit. So I'm just going to turn the fan on. Now it is finally time to start making pasta. So I'm going to get my water boiling, and we are using venison tonight in the pasta sauce. This is from one of the deer that my second oldest son harvested just a few weeks ago. He butchered the deer by himself and put the meat through the grinder for me. And so we're going to use that up tonight. Well, not use it up. There's still plenty in the freezer to use. So we'll go ahead and get that browning while the water heats up to a boil. Now, I have already run out of my homemade pasta sauce, which is honestly a tragedy. I didn't get nearly as much canned as I normally do because I was in the beginning of my pregnancy and I just did not have the energy. So today I'm actually going to be doctoring up some Rayo's pasta sauce, which is, it's a lovely sauce, but I like to add a few extra things. So I add red pepper flakes, and then I add some red wine as well. And that gives it closer to the flavor of my homemade pasta sauce. I didn't have as much wine as I would have liked, but that's okay. It's better than nothing. So I went ahead and added that to the brown meat, and then I'll go ahead and add the sauce in as well. And it comes out pretty close to homemade. I buy these in a 2-pack at Costco. That's the best price that I've been able to find. And about every 3 months, it actually goes on sale too. So now that I'm out of my homemade sauce, I'll probably start stocking up. I still make homemade sauce from like a big can of San Marzano tomatoes that I get at the Restaurant Depot. But it's lovely to just have jars on hand of sauce that's already been made for when we need a quick dinner. So I like to do both. Now that I'm out of my homemade canned sauce, I will still make my own from the giant cans of tomatoes, but I'll also still always have a few jars of pre-made sauce in my pantry for nights like this. So we'll get it all stirred up, and then it'll simmer while we wait for the water to finish coming to a boil and the pasta finish. Just got to get it all mixed in with the red wine and the venison. Now tonight, I'm only feeding 10. Only feeding 10. My oldest son is at school. He's in school to become an electrician. And my second oldest son is out on a date, so they won't be joining us tonight. But it was kind of funny because when my son and his girlfriend were getting ready to leave, my third son, Teddy, said, "Where are y'all going?" And my son said, "We're going out to dinner." And he said, "Why do you think you can go out to dinner and get anything better than what mom's making?" Which I thought was adorable. So they wanted pizza though. So they went and got some pizza. So I just put the spaghetti in the pot. Ryan found a fantastic clearance deal at Walmart a few weeks ago. This is the bronze die spaghetti. It's actually a really good spaghetti. I've used it before, and he found it had been marked down to 30 cents a pound. So he bought the whole case, which is fantastic. So I have my sauce on the simmer plate so that it can keep simmering on low. Now Ryan is helping me out by slicing the bread. This saves, I don't know why, but my forearms, whenever I slice bread or whenever I roll out crackers or whenever I grate cheese, my forearms really do not like it, and they give me trouble for the next 2 days. And I actually had a sore forearm this night because I had rolled out crackers the day before. So Ryan kindly offered to slice the bread for tonight. And even though this is a soft bread, it would still probably make that flare up again. So there's the lovely bread. And then Ted is grating my cheese for me. This is kind of his job because he absolutely loves Parmigiano Reggiano. He piles so much on his pasta that we decided he should be the one to grate it. So he's taking care of that for me. And here is everything laid out. We have the spaghetti and some steamed broccoli, the cheese, the bread. There's some butter over there. And this will make for a lovely dinner tonight. Thank you for joining me.